of antlers every year, and like that moose antler and the big elk antler you see back there, that was growing in 1 year's time. In fact, in less than a year, because the antlers start to grow in spring, and they're fully grown by fall. So within 6 months they grow that fast. And scientists studied the growth of antlers for several reasons, but one of the reasons is that bone cancer, as you know, is a cancer is sort of an uncontrolled growth. It just keeps dividing, or the cells keep dividing, keep growing and growing and growing, and that's one of the problems, of course, or one of the aspects of cancer. Deer, these antlers grow very rapidly, but at some point in time, there's a change in the deer's body chemistry, and the antler quits growing. And so if scientists could determine what it is about the deer's body chemistry that stops that growth, that there's a possibility that they could use some of that information in the treatment of cancer, bone cancer in particular. But same way with bears. Bears go into hibernation. They spend 6 months in hibernation. During that time, they don't eat, they don't defecate, they don't urinate, they don't hardly do anything but sleep. Yet, it's during that period of time, the coldest time of year right now, in fact, is when bears are having their babies, and they won't come out of hibernation until probably early March, or late March, I should say. So, how do they do that? How does a bear not go to the bathroom, not eat, not drink for all that time? And again, if a scientist could determine how they do that, what physiology in the bear's body allows them to do that, maybe that would be important to us, you know, maybe even in the future, long trips in space or something, or people who suffer from kidney disease and stuff like that. So wildlife is important in that regard too, that they're not just out there to look at, they're out there for a purpose. And the one that we're going to be talking about, the purpose, I think, a very important one, is the fact that these different species of wild birds and animals do work in the natural community. I mean, they have jobs to do. Each species has a job to do. Just like our parents, you know, they all have jobs, and those jobs, they're not all the same. But in our communities, the more jobs we have, we hear that all the time. Oh, we want to attract jobs, we want to provide jobs, and that's important in our communities, but it's also important in the wildlife community. So we're going to talk about some of these jobs. But I think it's important too to realize that wild birds and animals are part of our environment. And our environment is important to us, isn't it? Would you agree? When somebody mentions environment to you, or your environment, what do you think about? But what do you picture as being your environment? Or things that make up your environment? Do you have any ideas? Anybody? Oh, come on.
This is an environmental studies class.
Help me out here. But if I say to you, if I mention to you the environment, what do you picture? What do you think I'm talking about?
Anybody, yell it out. Come on.
Oh boy, this is the easiest question I'm going to ask all day.
I think it's like the woods outside my house.
Right, there's a good example. The woods outside your house. What else? What else makes up your environment? You know what the environment is, right? The things around you, whether it's living or whether it isn't, makes up your environment. So come on, that should help you. You're part of mine. Am I part of yours? Oh, a couple of people said yes. I don't know about the rest of you. How about the air we breathe, or the sunshine, or the rocks, or houses, or roads? All of those things, water, rain, I don't know, just name almost anything.
Those would all be examples of what type of factor? Abiotic factors, right? The non-living things.
Hey, great. How about the living things? I'm part of yours, you're part of mine. And wild birds and animals are a part of our environment too, right? Those are what factors? Abiotic, what's the right? What's that?
Biotic.
Biotic, right, okay. So, do you think that the abiotic or the biotic factors in our environment have any effect on your life? A lot of people are shaking their head. What effect might they have?
Things that like how you live life. But it's like,
You're right. They affect how we live our lives. The things in our environment, the things around us affect how we live our life. I have a sweater on here. It's a little warm in here. Some of you say when it's chilly. But if it is chilly, what do? We put on a jacket or a sweater or something, right? Or if it's really hot out in the summer, what do? We go swimming or sit under a shade tree. We don't really think, oh, the environment's making me do this. But in fact, that's what's happening. Our environment has a lot to do with what we do and how we do it. And those effects can be positive or negative, just like we can affect the environment too, can't we? We can have a positive effect on the environment. How might we positively affect the environment? Oh, come on, listen. Okay, you can plant trees. That's a positive effect. What's a negative effect? Littering, good. Polluting the water or the air. So we can have a positive or negative effect on the environment, and in turn, the environment can have a positive or negative effect on our life. But positive or negative, the environment is affecting our lives every day. And one of the big parts of our natural environment is what? Wild birds and animals. So even though you may never think much about it, now some people are really interested in wildlife, and they go out and watch the birds, or they're hunters, they like to go hunting, or they're just interested in nature when they go for a walk. They like to see things, you know, as I mentioned earlier. A field is just a field, but when there's a deer or a bear there, it's just that much more interesting. So these critters are an important part of our life. And those benefits that we talk, those few benefits I mentioned, and there's many, many more, but the few that I mentioned, one of the big benefits of wild birds and animals and the jobs that they do is in the natural community. They do things that help to maintain a stable and healthy and good environment. The soil, the topsoil, you know, that everything that we eat comes from the soil. And so we're dependent, our lives, our whole existence is dependent upon, in addition to all these technological things that we have around us, the fact is that our survival depends on just a little bit of topsoil that produces all the things that we need as far as nourishment, food. And these wild critters are out there enriching that soil every day. And they do that in many, many ways. And we're going to talk about just a few of them here with some of the species, or some of the specimens I have. And we'll talk about that particular species. But remember, there are hundreds, no, actually thousands. You know how many thousands of species there are? Different species.
Lots.
There's, yeah, worldwide there are thousands of species of wild critters that are working every day and every night to keep our existence going. And we don't see it because, you know, they're out here under a brush pile somewhere, burrowing in the ground or whatever, stirring up the ground and mixing the vegetation. They're molting. Birds and animals molt or shed twice a year. So all that hair and feathers is falling on the ground. Now it's not in a big heap, but it's spread out. And that's important to help build the soil. And many, many of those activities that are going on out in the wilds, what we call the wild, are actually the way nature builds that topsoil or helps to keep that healthy, and in so doing are affecting all of our lives, whether you think